Hi everybody, and welcome back to the rebuild of the Fokker DR1. I'm about to start laying up the upper wing, as I've already stated for those who are new to this little project. The lower wing and the middle wing have been completed. The fuselage has substantially been fettled and sorted out. So it just remains to get this upper wing done, and then we can start trying to pull things together and doing some fine tuning. So I've drawn out a very rudimentary, very simple plan outline. Basically all that you have there is the main spar position, the positions of the ribs, and I've made sure that they match up with the middle wing and the position of the ailerons. I haven't actually drawn the scallops in, that's not necessary. And of course, I've only drawn half a wing. I can't build the whole wing in one go because I don't have a building board big enough. Or, to be quite honest with you, the space to store a building board that size. But I've got enough to do half the wing and a bit more. I've laid some new plasterboard down. I find that really useful for pinning the structure down. Something that Cliff Harvey demonstrated, and I thought, yeah, great idea, so I pinched it. So here we go, box spar done, and you can see that it's got some clamps on it. I've added a plywood brace for the centre section. I can take these clamps off now, and that's simply because the centre section obviously is the part that attaches the upper wing via the cabanes, and I think there may be a need for some strength in this part of the wing. Now, I haven't yet fully resolved how the cabanes are going to work. I'm waiting for some material, some aluminium bar to arrive, and then I'll start laying things up and trying things out. But that won't stop me actually doing the wing. So that's the main spar, and there you go, that's half of the wing set up. And there'll be strength in the middle now with that plywood brace attached to it. And you can also see here that I've cut out and I've made two templates out of ply, which you can see there's bolts through them and a hole, and that's for access for the aileron cables. I'll put a tube in this case so that I can drop them down easily. You'll notice there's only one big cutout for the box spar, and that provides a large surface area, which I think will impart a great deal of strength. And other than that, it's a fairly straightforward rib section. Clark Y, by the looks of it. There's a bird mouth cut out for the leading edge, and then the trailing edge is actually made of an upper cap and a lower cap on the other wings, and that's what I'm going to do here. And there's a capping strip goes over the top and the bottom. Now this particular template is to make these ribs. These are the full length ribs, and then you can notice the aileron is slightly bigger than the main wing chord, and these will have to be cut on that point for the support for the hinge line and the trailing edge of this part of the wing to allow the aileron to attach to it. So now I've got this done, what I'm going to simply do is draw around some balsa, start cutting it out. I'll just do it approximately, then drill a hole through a bundle of ribs and sand them so that they're all identical. Once that's done, I'll do the same for these ribs. I'll cut this part off and reposition the hole. Make those for both sides of the wing, and then I can start laying it up. I need 7 of these, one for the centre and 3 aside. So I'm going to simply mark them out and then cut them approximately to size, and then I'll finish them off by producing a sandwich of the two, with using the 2 plywood pieces, drill them through, and then I know they're all going to be accurate. So let's get cracking. all marked out and ready to cut. And the most important thing actually are the dots, which shows the point at which the bolts go through. So I'll get them cut out, we'll put them together, and then we'll see where we go from there. I've actually drilled out all the holes in the blanks, and now it's just a case of feeding everything on. Might be just a bit of a push with the length of the bolts I got, might be one short, but it's not a big deal. So we'll put them through. It's easier to do one at a time so that you don't end up forcing things. There we go. And then once this is in place, I'll carve some off and sand the rest, and then I can cut out the aperture for the spar, which will be cool. You can, of course, just, if it's a small number like this, you can just cut round them, use the template as a cutting guide. That's always an option. In this case, I'm going to use the sandwich method. Yeah, one more to go. I think I might just manage it actually. That'll be cool. In the northeast of England, the days are getting shorter rather rapidly, and that always feels like it's a building occasion to me. See if I can screw that one through. There we go. That's in. That's what you want. You want it nice and snug. You don't want it sloppy. There we go. Although I've got bolts, I don't think I need to use them. And now it's just a case of making a pile of balsa dust or balsa shavings. Don't try and hack too much of it at once. And then once I get down close enough, I might actually use a plane on it. Take that out a little bit further. Just start, you can hear this when I'm starting to hit the ply. Obviously you stop then and then do the rest with. It's best to take a little off in one big chunk. And the other side. A lot easier when it's a Clark Y, flat bottomed. Now the rest, I'm going to take that outside and fill the air with balsa dust rather than the house with balsa dust. So there we go. I think you can probably see by the dust I did it in the house. Don't tell the wife. I'll use this to sort of trim off the end and cut out the bird mouth. Shh, don't tell. As long as I don't blow it, I think I'll get away with it. There we have it. Now, I'm not going to pull them apart yet because I need to cut that out. And because I've actually put the plywood in this centre section, I'll actually cut out, rather than hack this out, I'll cut out an extra piece to allow for the 1/8 ply. But you can see, I'm going to get a nice identical set of ribs using this simple technique. And I'll drill that out and Dremel it to get a nice round hole there. Yeah, we have them done then. I'll take this out. Come on, that's it. And this one. It's what you want. You want a nice tight grip. You don't want them slopping about otherwise. The template, the plywood template becomes pointless. And there we go. Come on. There we go. Done. Now I have to open out 1, 2, 3 of those slightly to allow for the plywood in the front. But they are all the full ribs that I require. I'll cut the template now and I'll cut the remaining ribs that are required. Rather neat, I hope you agree with that. There you go. Time to hide the evidence now before the wife gets home. These are the last few ribs that I have to make. It hasn't taken long at all. The longest part of the process is obviously cutting out the plywood parts. And then as you can see, these are basically just hacked out. Roughly to size, and then I'm going to use a plane to, a little bit coarse there, to take them down, and then the final little bit will be done with the sanding block. I've decided to use the plywood rib templates actually. I'm going to put them in the position where the cabanes join onto the wing, because I thought the extra strength wouldn't come amiss. It's a little bit too coarse that, and that's why it's digging. Set it back. Handy little tools these. So I'll take that down. Best to take a little bit off at a time rather than try to hack it all off. That's that. You can hear when you're hitting the ply, time to stop. Put that flat. Almost there. Most of these are going to be cut shorter because they're where the ailerons join. Now, next part, this makes life very easy because it's only one to cut out. I just draw a line on to line it up. But the plywood itself acts as the guide, and the easiest way to do this is to cut it out using the razor saw. Down to depth. It's just about enough depth on this saw. And then trim out the surplus. And these little pieces I'm going to use as packing for packing up the main spar to match the trailing edge. It's always handy to keep these little bits of wood. And then a final little clean up. There's the bird mouth to do. A little bit more care required with this. Hope this is all in view. Otherwise it's a bit like the ventriloquist dummy on the radio show, isn't it? Right, there we go. And just to keep it neat, there we have it. Then I've just got to take those apart, and I've got, that's the full set of ribs. Two of these need to have the centre hole cut out, the rest of them don't need it, and we're ready to start laying up the wing. And I know people are put off by scratch building, the thought of doing it, and I hope this is demonstrating it's actually quite straightforward. It's not a big deal. It doesn't have to be a big deal, at least on most models. There we go, all exactly the same. Pleased with them. Let's get this laid up. As you can see, I hope, this is now being jigged up. It's in the dry state at the moment. And what I've done, although I've drawn the plans up, I've double checked them against the middle wing, and that's meant a little bit of realignment regarding the ribs because they don't quite match the middle ones. Now the middle ones are restored and altered the centre section, but I didn't alter the spacing, and I think there's some slight discrepancies, and what I need to do is make sure that they match the upper wing or it's going to look odd. And not only will it look odd, but these double ribs here line up with the spar that runs through, and they've got to be in the right position. So with that in mind, I've got them lined up, and but this is all just dry fitted at the moment. So all I need to do now is apply some glue, double check everything as I go along, and get this side done before I shuffle things around and do the other side. So we'll do that as a little bit of a time lapse, and we'll see how far I get with it. So there we have the basic frame of half of the wing laid up. What I have done, oh, missed one out there, I need to add one there. What I have done is I've put a ply, well actually the template that I did, a ply rib in here. I'll do the same on the other side, and the reason for that is that this is where the cabins will be located. So I might as well take advantage of the plywood templates that I've made. There'll be some hardwood bearers to transfer the stress. I'm sort of ad-libbing this and making it up as I go along. And I'm going to look at it critically, and there'll be a gusset there and a gusset there, for example. Leading edge will be added. I think I'll make that as one piece, the same as I've done the central spar. And that'll be added on last when I turn the thing round. And then the riblets will be added on to the top to keep them in line with the other wings. So I'll just add that one in, which for some reason I've forgot to add. Put a bit of glue on. I'm using white glue for the spar joint, but I'm using CA once I'm happy that it's all lined up nice and square for the trailing edge, or the bottom half of the trailing edge. Checking it's square that way and square that way. Just put the glue out of reach, that's a good trick. And see that in. And there we have it, half a wing done. I think the last thing you'll see will be when I've turned this round. The next thing rather that you'll see will be when I've turned this round and started on the other side. The holes are for obviously for the aileron leads. So there we go. Pause it there until the next bit. That's both sides done now. I'm going to draw this to an end, or this video to an end, let everything set properly, and then the next video will be the finishing off of the wing, adding the leading edge, the upper part of the trailing edge, and hopefully I'll receive the material I need to make the cabins, and that's going to be a video on its own right. So the main part of this wing is now constructed. There's obviously lots still to do, ailerons, end tips and so on, but I think the video has gone on for long enough and you get the general gist of how I've approached this. I hope you found it useful and interesting, something to watch with your morning coffee perhaps. So take care, enjoy your flying if you can get out. If you can't, let's get creative.